Good evening and welcome to Mountain Mirrors. I'm Aeson Knight, Master Psychic and Bear in the crowd. And of course, I'm with my cubby with the mostest, Techy Joe. How are you, darling?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing well. Just getting my coffee in me, trying to power up, trying to figure out what happened this evening as we figure out if we're going to be paying $56 more a month.
Yeah. So West Virginia power rate hikes suspended pending investigation. So that is from Eyewitness News, WCHS, WCHS 8 and Fox 11, because
Right.
we have our giant oligarchy-owned news service.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the West Virginia Public Service Commission filed an order on Thursday for Appalachian Power and Wheeling Power companies to provide more information related to a rate increase request. The Public Services Commission said it was suspending the rate increase until the commission finishes its investigation of the utility's request. Some of the utility companies' customers took to the street and said that they were already struggling to find money to pay their bills, with dozens from the West Virginia Citizens Action Group making their way to downtown Charleston to protest the increasing cost for electricity. Quote, somebody came over to my house the other day and said, my gosh, it's hot in here. What have you got that thing on? And I said, quote, we have to keep it on 73 because I can't do anymore. I can't afford it. Huntington homeowner Kitty Kelly Smoot said. While the group did not face any counter protesters, a woman who identified herself as a Lady Tower security guard asked the group to not block and prevent employees from leaving the main doors. The group moved further down the sidewalk to continue speaking their message. On top of the news of the 18% suggested rate hike for residential customers, we found we've reached a critical mass. Daniela Parent, WVCA organizing director, said there were a lot of people who had a lot to say, and we wanted to give them an outlet for that. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, in the past 20 years, West Virginia residential prices have gone from around 6.27 cents per kilowatt hour to nearly 16 cents, an increase of 255%. We heard them, we always understand that anytime we ask for additional money, it's going to put a strain on our customers. So we're always trying to be conscious of that, AEP Communications Director George Porter said. If the PSC makes a rate increase decision, it won't take effect until May 30th, 2025.
But they've already put it on hold and suspended it, actually.
So I decided that one wasn't worth it.
They're in danger. What I mean by that is the Public Service Commission is going to investigate them and go, okay, so what are you spending this on? Mm-hmm. What are you spending more than 10 more cents per customer? Because I'm sorry, they say it's 16 cents per kilowatt. I think the last time I checked, we're paying close to 23.
But ultimately, where we're kind of at with this, and I think a lot of the country is at,
right?
We have failing infrastructure. We've seen multiple rate increases. Like it's every time you turn around, there's another rate increase.
Right.
But we're not seeing an improvement of services. Like right. I don't remember, and people can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to hear that. But I think our services are failing far more often.
Mm-hmm.
Far more often than they used to.
Right.
So that's, to me, speaks to one of two things: either a failure to maintain the infrastructure that was there,
right,
or a demand for power
right.
that exceeds the capacity of the grid, if not both. And it's like, what are we doing with these rate increases? Because our understanding of a rate increase is that this is supposed to, one, help maintain the infrastructure, two, maintain capacity for a growing population, growing demand, which West Virginia, by the way, has been a citizen loss for years. So if we're having a capacity issue, please note people are leaving the state more than they are coming to it.
Right.
But with that was also the idea that yes, this was a response to increasing costs to electricity providers, to utility providers.
I find it interesting, however, that they're paying a 16% dividend.
Mm-hmm. So you're profitable enough to pay a dividend.
Mm-hmm.
So do you need a rate increase? Why do you need a rate increase?
Right.
Is it just because you can get one?
Right.
I mean, look, we're not out to bankrupt anyone here. We wish our utilities weren't out to bankrupt their customers, but it kind of seems to be the idea that we're going to eventually shove our population, at least our less fortunate population, into literally deciding between electricity or water, phone or internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the AI Bloom made a statement, and I copied it over to you.
Oh, okay. Let me read through that. So AEP is an electric utility that I'm glad to own in my portfolio. Its service areas are economically growing and set to benefit from sizable future data center demand. This is what's behind the uptick in operating EPS growth versus past years. That should also drive slightly better dividend growth in the future. Best of all, the valuation still leaves room for likely double-digit annual total returns for the next few years. This is why I'm standing by my buy rating for now.
Right.
What the hell, man?
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, again, like, do we really have to feed the insanity this heavily?
Well, not only to feed the insanity, but actually just feed the stockholders. I mean, because we look at the reasoning we keep hearing about their need for an increase. It is that, oh, we got storm damage from the derecho. The derecho, my God, we weren't even dating during the derecho. So that's at least 7 years old.
Like, is that, like, AEP, is the derecho still what's affecting the grid? Because if it is
right,
a long time ago. Like I understand, like we're a mountainous area full of trees. We have a completely above ground system.
Right, he's frozen. Give him a second to catch back up. But no, looking at their stock portfolio on the S&P 500, they've gained 5%, and that's a record number. So, above ground.
We're an entirely above ground system, and with unfortunately the storms, the rugged terrain, the trees, the everything, an above ground system is probably the worst system we can have. Like, quite frankly.
Right. But what gets me is the government built this system, and now it's being asked to maintain the system, but it doesn't collect any of the money from the system.
Pretty much. Meanwhile, customers are it's a little confusing. Customers are being asked to pay for continuous rate increases while we don't see any benefit.
Right.
I you know what I mean? Like we're not moving forward.
Right.
Like we're not making a positive change in the reliability of our service, in like, can someone explain to me logically, reasonably, what we're doing other than feeding investors?
I don't feel so.
Like, what
I don't feel that there's anything other than they're doing. I mean, you drug me into the conversation, but you and one of our top baristas was having a conversation, And that conversation was about how irreliable our power and cable are. But you know what? Those are the two bills I pay the most for.
Mm-hmm. They are our biggest utilities. Top
Right.
three. We have one that's bigger, but that's cell phone. And that's kind of
Depending on the
understandable.
time
We're
of the year,
multiple
honey,
lives.
sometimes the
Yeah.
power bill is twice the amount of our cell phone bill.
I get that. What I'm saying is our bill for cable internet is a fixed bill. The cell phones are bigger than it.
Right.
But multiple lines, multiple things going on with that. That one's a little understandable, though I do think cellular services are highly overpriced. That's just me. That's just me. Like, I try to let it go, but I think it's kind of nuts.
Yes.
Like, I really struggle to justify that the expense of our cell phone bill. Though I think many people are struggling not just to justify the expense, but to quite frankly answer the question, how the fuck do I pay for all this shit?
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, economically, we're not in a position for another rate hike. We're not in position for any more bills, utilities,
Right.
charges, costs, expenses. You name it, we can't afford it.
Right.
Like, not to go off sounding like Herman Cain and the rent's too damn high, which it is. We thought it was bad then.
Right.
Now we would go back and gladly pay that. But no, we're legitimately at a point in which stagnant wages, and more importantly, stagnant minimum wage has really moved us to a point that, like, we're not even treading water. We're underwater. There's literally no way to be above water.
Right. And I'm not being a pain. I'll be point blank. Yeah, I am sometimes the power Nazi. I mean, because I'm writing bills. Sometimes our power bill takes up all of our budget compared to the other bills. Like, they don't even equal up to the power bill.
Right. Right. No, it is our single largest expense.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely wholeheartedly understand that. It is our single largest expense right now.
Right.
And if that were on top of paying rent or a mortgage, there would be nothing left.
Right.
Like, even if it were a very old mortgage at this point,
Right.
there would be nothing left.
Yeah.
So and that's on top of, or that is before you even consider yet another rate hike.
Right.
That we don't. I've seen the explanations that they have tried to give, and it's the same canned responses over and over and over again. What I don't see, what no one has seen, is an actual improvement of services.
Right.
Like, and that's the part that gets me, is you keep saying you're making it better. I'm almost tempted to be like, why don't we try not approving the rate hike and just see how bad it can get until, I don't know, the state of West Virginia takes it over.
Right.
Because that's frankly where I'm at.
Right.
I mean, call me an anarchist if you will, but I don't see how we could do worse.
Right. So our average bill, I love it when I know the average of our bill on this.
Yes.
Times 15%. Yeah, we'd be paying an additional, on average, $42.90, $43. That's the amount of our water bill.
Of our water bill?
Yeah. On an average month is the amount they're asking to increase on the power bill.
is our water bill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on. I mean, I get it's an electronic world. It is a digital world. Everything is running on electricity. This is where we are. I thought it was supposed to get cheaper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, again, bless my naivete, but I'm not seeing where you're expanding this operation. I'm not seeing where you're even maintaining this operation. I'm not seeing where we're getting anything more now than we used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like I marginally, and I get that's a drop in a bucket across multiple consumers. It makes a full bucket,
Right.
but still,
Mm-hmm.
you have fewer consumers.
Right.
So your capacity requirement should be shrinking.
Right.
As in the amount of electricity you need to be able to produce to
Mm-hmm.
reach demand,
Mm-hmm.
that number should be maintaining itself within planned capacity. Like, we've lost thousands of people. Like, again, we've been running a negative. Year after year after year, we have negative population growth.
Right.
We are losing people.
Right.
How are you requiring more?
Right.
Like, that's the part I don't understand. I argumentatively, I could say that the original rates were planned with a certain number of customers, and that negative population growth has resulted in a deficiency in total revenue generated compared to expenses. We seriously cannot be that off the mark.
Right. And part of it is they did not invest in equipment. We're still using coal-fired power plants. We're still using, very outdated power plants, very unusual power plants.
Inefficient power plants.
Right.
Polluting power plants.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't follow the bouncy ball.
Right.
Like, the bouncy ball leads nowhere but more corporate doublespeak to justify a rate increase.
Right.
At what point? At what point?
Right.
I've jokingly said throwing a turbine into the New River, which I won't do. You don't need to contact me. But throwing a turbine into the New River and running extension cords to the house, which we're 7 minutes away. It's like, that's a lot of extension cord, okay? But I honestly believe it would be more reliable than what we currently have as an electrical utility.
Right.
Like, I'm frightened at how potentially that would be a better solution.
Right. Because that's the level of degradation we have here. I mean, how many shows? Baristas, we have to cancel shows all the time because the electric's out. Mm-hmm. Or come on late because the electric decided to flicker.
And if we're not dealing with that, we're dealing with the internet.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the two. These are largest utility bills.
Yeah.
And they don't work.
Mm-mm.
They recurringly don't work.
Right.
I mean, I expect a certain number, like, of events per year.
Right.
You know what I mean? As a reasonable consumer, I expect that you're going to have an outage. It's going to happen. It just happens. Like, we're not being unreasonable. This is not a 24/7, 365 possibility. Like, and especially not in West Virginia. Again, we have some reasonable expectations that, okay, we're going to have some outages.
Right.
Like, it's going to happen.
Right.
The level that we're at.
Right.
And it used to just be during severe storms, high winds.
Right.
That, okay, we're probably going to lose power.
Right.
Clear blue day. Clear blue day.
Right.
There's no storm, but we have an outage.
Right.
How? Like, how?
Right. Why?
Yeah. Or it lightly rained. Not high winds, not heavy rain, torrential rain, horizontal rain. None of these things applied. It sprinkled.
Right.
Our power. Like, this is what we're living through.
Right.
And it's like, are you all kidding me? I also saw on the news today, speaking of the internet and outages, apparently parts of West Virginia were affected by an internet outage today. I saw a little bit of that. I didn't get to actually read the rest of it.
Right.
But it apparently affected West Virginia schools. I did want to talk on that. So, yeah. So also from WCHS, all right, so our update at 3:15 after the school day ends. Service has been restored to all of West Virginia school districts after an outage disrupted plans earlier on Friday. A spokesperson for the West Virginia Department of Education confirmed that all counties were back online just after 3 p.m. Optimum confirmed the restoration in a statement. Due to a fiber break in the Charleston area, some Optimum customers have experienced a loss in services, the statement said. Our crews have been on the scene actively working to restore services, and all affected schools are currently back online with complete restoration expected this evening. So
Right.
their original story, a fiber optic outage threw a wrench into school plans for several counties Friday in West Virginia, including Kanawha County. A spokesperson for Kanawha County Schools said the system experienced an internet outage due to a cut line about 9:30 a.m., but service was restored before noon. Elsewhere, 7 other school systems in West Virginia were also affected by the Optimum outage. Greenbrier, Jackson, Mercer, Monroe, Pleasance, Raleigh, and Wirt. The fiber carrier in those counties, Optimum, is working to restore service. A spokesperson for the West Virginia Department of Education said its offices were not affected. Hi. What? You took out counties.
Yeah.
You took out counties.
Mm-hmm.
For hours. For an entire school day in some instances. Like, what is wrong with this picture?
Well, there's a lot wrong with this picture. Part of the wrong with this picture is they ain't got their shit together. This is what we get out of Optimum.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care.
Well,
they don't even know where their freaking lines are.
Well, and more to the point, this is what we get out of companies that are nothing like, if they're not an outright private equity firm, they function as one.
Mm-hmm.
In which they're literally reduce costs to as close to zero as humanly possible, right. Pump the customers for as much money as humanly possible, pay the biggest dividend possible.
Right.
That's it. That's all they're doing, just over and over and over again.
Right.
And this is what West Virginia is filled with. These are our providers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cradle to grave, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. We're doing everything we can they're doing everything they can to suck every last penny out of the West Virginian. And this is across the country occurring.
Yeah. And if it hasn't hit your neighborhood yet, wait. It's truly interesting.
Well, we were comparing the other night me and the boys. Utilities and prices and what other countries pay and how they pay and when they pay. I'm really loving Australia's model. They write one check to their government. If they participate in recycling, they get a check back.
Fair enough.
I'm like,
Fair
okay,
enough.
why are we doing this? Same thing in the UK, who has record low electric bills for their people.
Well, we have heavily resisted municipally supplied utility.
Right.
And when this became a concept for me, way back when, talk about having a totally different internet than we have today.
Right.
Back in the early 90s, municipal broadband was the first time I had even considered the idea of municipally provided utilities.
Right.
Like we see that in sewer systems, some places, water systems in a few places. But generally, we don't see locally owned and operated utility services.
Right.
In the US, it is all predominantly operated by private industry,
right,
private companies. So Appalachian Power, Optimum Internet, you name the provider, we have one.
Right.
Versus creating the system with taxpayer money, like finance the building of the infrastructure,
right,
and the management of it as a government function.
Right.
Which to me is so much more straightforward, because when you have a duty to your residents without the impingement of trying to produce a profit,
right,
and more importantly, feed stockholders, because they truly are the worst affected in every situation.
Mm-hmm.
Please, sir, may I have another dividend? I mean, it's how it feels. It really does. But without that constraint,
Mm-hmm.
these are better services provided with equality.
Right.
We're not listening to Frontier, who has maintained for over a decade, I think they're up to almost 2 decades, that is just not economically viable.
Mm-hmm. To provide services in some areas and to maintain, the services that are there. Welcome back.
I mean, that's been their line for years. Like, we have communities in which services that were originally built out, like these were existing customers they purchased with when they entered the area,
Right.
have lost services because it is not economically viable.
Mm-hmm.
It is not valuable to Frontier,
Right,
to Optum, to name your company.
right.
And I know I'm picking on Frontier. They've well deserved it. But because they are sometimes the most egregious, because we're not even talking about internet. We're talking about base phone service. Simple, plain phone service. To little old people in some parts of West Virginia, you can't get it. We're talking about mobile providers that will not build a tower because there are not enough customers. It is not economically viable to put a tower there.
Mm-hmm.
And in many cases, we're talking about a confluence of issues. for the same customers
Yeah.
that are not economically viable to Frontier. They are not economically viable to Optimum, Cox, Charter, you name it.
Right.
They're not economically viable to any service provider.
Right.
So what do? It's not like they have a choice in the matter. They don't get to just go, well, okay, so I can't have Frontier phone service. I'll just use a
Voice over IP service and a cable modem. And then you try to explain all that to them what that is.
Well, but it's not even an option because there's no functional provider in their area for cable.
Right.
Okay, we'll do cellular. You're lucky if you get a 1 bar, and you better be standing in a very specific spot.
Right.
So what does Grandma do?
Unfortunately, Grandma has to leave her property because she can no longer get services there.
Like, she most likely has a cell phone, and she drives to where she can use it.
Right.
Have you seen a payphone? Green Bank, West Virginia is your only answer in the state of West Virginia. It really, truly is. Because
Summersville Lake, we documented it last year.
I know there's still a few around. Like there's one in Charleston that has enamored the entire Charleston community.
Yeah.
Because in downtown Charleston, there's this one sad little payphone. It's on a side street. And people pose with it. This is how anachronistic the idea is of a payphone. In 2024.
Right.
But we continue to have utilities say it's not economically viable. I understand that in a sense. I truly do. I truly understand it. For these companies, it will cost a lot.
Right.
But that's because your focus is turning a profit, not providing a utility.
Right.
Like, and that's the whole. This is what you're supposed to be doing, is providing utility, not an option, not a luxury. This is not, but we have communities that collapse.
Right.
That were already dying, that collapse because they can't provide basic services to their residents.
Right.
You can't get them. They don't exist. We're watching parts of our state erased from the map by companies that say it's not economically viable for us to provide you service.
Well, that's why, like, I think it was the Tennessee Valley. Yeah, it was Tennessee Valley Valley Authority was the ones that ran power through West Virginia in the 30s.
And in some areas, that's probably as up to date as it got.
Yep. There was a beautiful property I almost bought when I moved back from Ohio. I couldn't buy it. Not that I couldn't get the loan. We had more than enough money to pay for the home. We couldn't move there because the internet wasn't there, and my business depended on it. So I would have to take out an office in town.
And it functionally becomes a problem for these. And we know. These are tiny communities.
Right.
A lot of them were built during a coal bust and have been hemorrhaging people since a local mine closed.
Mm-hmm.
But these are people who own their homes.
Mm-hmm.
These are communities. These are more than just dots on a map. All around West Virginia that are going literally bankrupt. Trying to exist.
Yeah.
But if you keep leaving them further and further and further behind,
Mm-hmm.
not only are they going bankrupt, but they're turning to dust. They're growing over. They are eroding away.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and then National Forest comes in and claims it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because what West Virginia needs is another epic park.
Well,
I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. I love our national park system. I really, truly, honestly love our national park system. Do not get me wrong. But don't we have enough? Like, I think West Virginia is the only state that's adding.
Right.
Like, are there other states that are adding to the national park system? Not in the sense of being incorporated, which we were. Like, we were added in that sense. Like, New River Gorge is now a national park. I get that. Not what I'm talking about. I mean, we're adding land to the parks that already exist because they are reaching out and basically encompassing failed communities.
Right.
Like, I don't think there's another state that has that wonderful claim.
Right. No.
Like, we are literally turning communities into parkland.
Right. Because there's nothing there, and nobody owns it, and nobody wants it.
Yeah, as in, it lost the qualifications to be an incorporated community. It lost its post office. It became economically unviable to continue to service it with utilities, which should be the most diametrically fucked up sentence ever.
Right.
It's a public utility. It is not it's not a profit center. It's not supposed to be a profit center. It's supposed to operate at a loss.
Right. Well, I done a little bit of math. Technically, if we bought 387 shares of stock, we could pay our power bill off the dividends.
Oh, good. Is it of AEP?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder how much stock would we have to buy to be able to pay our power bill off the dividend check? More importantly, that's insane.
Yeah, more importantly, would it be possible to get AEP to just directly credit it to the account?
Yes.
Just roll our dividend into your bill.
They get mad when I make more than 2 payments.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if I'm breaking payments up, they get terribly upset about that.
Yeah. More importantly, it used to be a sign of severe economic situation if you had to break your power bill, your water bill, your sewer bill, your whatever utility bill into payments. This is becoming so normalized.
Right.
That literally it is impossible for so many consumers to pay their utility in one payment.
Right.
The funds aren't there. Or if the funds are there at all,
right,
it would bankrupt them. That would be it.
Right.
That's your whole paycheck right there. It's gone. One bill. Or so close to those words, what are you supposed to live off of? How are you supposed to put gas in the car to go to work to make the money to pay the bill?
Right.
Like, this is a nightmare. It's got to get better.
Yeah. It's got to get a lot more better. All right. So let's move on over to another company that's, I don't like the company because of their behavior, but this is interesting. This might help
Yeah.
Granny get a cell phone.
All right. So the company we like, Ars Technica, brings us this article. AT&T and Verizon ask FCC to throw a wrench into Starlink's mobile plan. Carriers allege Starlink / T-Mobile will interfere with existing mobile networks. So AT&T and Verizon are urging telecom regulators to reject a key part of SpaceX's plan to offer cellular service with T-Mobile, claiming the satellite system will interfere with and degrade service for terrestrial mobile broadband networks. Filings urging the Federal Communications Commission to deny SpaceX requests for a waiver were submitted by AT&T and Verizon this week. The plan by SpaceX's Starlink division also faces opposition from satellite companies EchoStar, which owns Dish and Hughes, and Omnispace. SpaceX and T-Mobile plan to offer supplemental coverage from space, SCS, for T-Mobile's cellular network using SpaceX satellites. As part of that plan, SpaceX is seeking a waiver of FCC rules regarding out-of-band emission limits. AT&T's petition to deny the SpaceX waiver request said the FCC's recent SCS order appropriately recognized that SCS deployments should not present any risk to the vital terrestrial mobile broadband networks upon which millions of Americans rely today. The Commission authorized SCS as secondary to terrestrial mobile service, correctly explaining that the SCS framework must retain service quality of terrestrial networks, protect spectrum usage rights, and minimize the risk of harmful interference. AT&T said SpaceX's requested 9-fold increase to the allowable power flux density limits for out-of-band emissions would cause unacceptable harmful interference to incumbent terrestrial mobile operations. Specifically, AT&T's technical analysis shows that SpaceX's proposal would cause an 18% average reduction in network downlink throughput in an operational and representative AT&T PCS C block market deployment. Verizon predicts phone problems. Verizon's opposition to the waiver request similarly said that SpaceX's proposal would subject incumbent primary terrestrial license operations in adjacent bands to harmful interference. Wireless phone performance will suffer, Verizon said. Quote, assuming a handset antenna gain of -3 decibels, SpaceX's proposal still results in an interference to noise ratio of -3 decibels, well above the ITU International Telecommunication Union threshold. SpaceX claims that SpaceX claims would protect terrestrial devices. SpaceX's proposed margin therefore fails to adequately protect terrestrial user equipment from potential interference from SCS satellite systems, including user equipment that may not fall within the flagship performance parameters and should be rejected. SpaceX likewise provides no reasonable justification for why service intended to supplement primary terrestrial services should be allowed to cause harmful interference in contravention of the Commission's rules and policies. AT&T and Verizon both intend to offer supplemental coverage from space as part of separate deals with AST Space Mobile. AT&T was running ads indicating that it already offered such coverage, even though it isn't available yet, and grudgingly agreed to change the ads after a complaint from T-Mobile. SpaceX and other entities interested in the proceeding have until August 22nd to submit responses to the FCC docket. The deadline for replies to responses is August 29th. We contacted SpaceX today and will update this article if it provides a response. While the company hasn't yet responded to the AT&T and Verizon filings, it looks like SpaceX will put forward a spirited defense.
I find it interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, AT&T, I mean, T-Mobile, we don't like. The reason we don't like them is they like to block network calls and control customers' data access, control customers' alerts, whatever. You know, they deem them to be
T-Mobile,
unnecessary.
Well, here the bigger problem, especially with West Virginians, with T-Mobile, is they came in and bought what was it, Sprint?
Yep.
And in doing so, basically created this weird duct tape network, in which T-Mobile equipment didn't really work on the Sprint network to begin with. It was spotty and but converted all of their customers from Sprint to T-Mobile customers under new contracts, and then basically reprovisioned their phones to be part of the T-Mobile network.
Right. When they weren't capable of it.
Wasn't compatible with the existing Sprint infrastructure. Like, basically it rolled the phones in a way that they could no longer properly function. Like, everyone saw an immediate decrease in capacity, in usability. Like, it was a whole nightmare. This was a few years back. Meanwhile, in the whole T-Mobile, and it's T-Mobile, and is it also Verizon that does this? They have some really wonky ideas about how they handle en route calls.
T-Mobile's the only one out of them that does it.
Okay, I thought it was Verizon that also.
No, Verizon does this wonky thing. Well, they will push it through your internet.
Yeah, even when they're not supposed to.
Right.
But no, T-Mobile does some interesting things with call routing that actually causes issues with lots of different services. Right. So it is why it is one of our least preferred, and we have long.
Yeah, we do not care for them. They have some blocking problems. They have some handling of data problems, and they will suppress your usage.
Yes. So it's been problematic. We definitely cannot recommend T-Mobile for work from home if you're on a phone-based system, as in that system has to throw a call to you.
Right.
And it has everything to do with the way T-Mobile routes calls and prioritizes traffic. And fundamentally, T-Mobile has ultimately said they are not an appropriate solution for work from home. Not in the throne call situation.
Right.
So meanwhile, network-based advisors like Aeson and several others, that's a problem. That's a problem. In addition to the fact that who has a landline anymore, it does create a lot of issues for those seeking work from home opportunities that would be telephone based. You can't use T-Mobile. And especially in West Virginia, this becomes a problem because we don't like competition of our providers.
Nope.
And we have long held that every area should be territorial to one provider. So you run into a lot of problems in the state of West Virginia with having only one choice.
Right.
For each category of service. One functional cell phone provider, one functional internet provider, one functional phone provider. that predominantly services an area and you have no competition.
Well, and you say functional, I'll say debatably functional.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, I'm saying in terms of like if AT&T is the carrier for an area, you might get some service with T-Mobile, you might get some service with Verizon, you might get service with a different provider. Your mileage can vary greatly on that.
Right.
Because it's a predominantly AT&T market.
Mm-hmm.
It is heavily saturated with AT&T. There's very little in the way of cooperation from AT&T
Right.
to let other providers rent space.
But they're real great at selling space. You know, T-Mobile, aka Optimum Mobile, same company.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, T-Mobile will partner with anyone.
Yep. So you have to watch your
T-Mobile will do it behind a dumpster. I swear to God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they do not care. They will partner with anyone.
Yeah.
SpaceX, Optimum, you name it. They've partnered with them.
Right. But, you know, their contract says very closely, if you read it, that they have the right to suspend calls to your number anywhere they choose to, or block providers to any number they choose to.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning you don't get to choose who calls you. And we've had to go through this multiple times with advisors and walk them through. Did you read the print of your contract? And advisors have gotten stuck with phones that
And
don't
paying
work
out
for their
service
intended
contracts.
purposes. Yeah.
Paying out service contracts while having to purchase a secondary phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's a hard thing to have to explain to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Is you cannot, I understand you have a contract. I understand you have multiple lines. I understand it works great at your home and you chose it because it was the best provider, and I put that in air quotes, for your geographic region. Mm-hmm. Or you were already an existing Sprint customer and got sucked into this and stuck with a contract for a provider that no longer exists because it has been absorbed into the megalithic cellular, monopoly, or pseudo monopoly at this point. I understand all that, but if you want to actually work and not complain about not being able to work, you have to buy a phone with a different provider, preferably AT&T. Not because we love AT&T, but because AT&T has the least problems with the concept that you might work from your cell phone.
Right. And they give you a designated, like they'll give you anything. They'll do backflips to get you to be able to work because they want their bill paid. You know, Ma Bella is real good at collecting her money.
Well, and fundamentally, again, this is not an endorsement of AT&T.
Hey, I'll give it an endorsement. Hell, I'll even take an ad. Hey, guys, we have a lovely ad program you can get into over there. All right, so let's, pop over and look at our, unsupreme court, because they're not supreme. They're kind of like not optimum.
Oh, it's going to be fun. So Supreme Court maintains, from CBS News, Supreme Court maintains block on entirety of Biden administration's new Title IX rule. The Supreme Court on Friday declined to let the Biden administration enforce portions of a new rule that includes protections from discrimination for transgender students under Title IX while legal proceedings continue. The High Court left intact two separate orders from federal courts in Kentucky and Louisiana, which blocked the Department of Education from enforcing the entirety of the rule across 10 states. The Justice Department had asked the Supreme Court to put part of the decisions on hold, but it declined the requests. 4 of the 9 justices would have let part of the rules take effect, according to the order, but all members of the court agreed that the key disputed changes, including the new definition of sex discrimination to include gender identity and the restrictions on same-sex spaces, could remain blocked. All members of the court today accept that the plaintiffs were entitled to preliminary injunctive relief as to 3 provisions of the rule, including the central provision that newly defines sex discrimination to include discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity, the Supreme Court said in its unsigned opinion. The measure at issue is in the disputes was announced by the Biden administration in April and expanded Title IX's protections to LGBTQ students. The landmark 50-year-old law prohibits education entities that receive federal funds from discriminating on the basis of sex. The rule took effect August 1st, but only in less than half of the states. Federal judges have temporarily blocked it in 26 states as a result of legal challenges. The court fights before the Supreme Court involved 2 groups of states that challenged 3 provisions of the rule. The first recognizes that Title IX's prohibition on sex discrimination covers gender identity. The second broadens the definition of hostile environment harassment to include harassment based on gender identity. And the third clarifies that a school violates Title IX when it prohibits transgender students from using restrooms and other facilities consistent with their gender identity. One case was brought by 4 states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, and Idaho, as well as the Louisiana Department of Education. The second was filed by 6 states, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Virginia, and West Virginia. In June, federal district courts in Louisiana and Kentucky found the states were likely to succeed in their cases and blocked enforcement of the entire rule across the 10 states involved in the litigation. The Biden administration asked federal appeals courts in both cases to allow it to temporarily enforce part of the rule, the provisions that were not challenged, but each declined the request in divided decisions. The Supreme Court, in response to the government's argument that the 3 provisions should be severed, allowing the other unchallenged parts of the rule to go into effect, agreed with the lower courts that, quote, the new definition of sex discrimination is intertwined with and affects many other provisions of the new rule, and therefore the 3 provisions are, quote, not readily severable from the remaining provisions. It said that the government did not provide a sufficient basis to disturb the lower court's interim conclusions and had not adequately identified which particular provisions, if any, are sufficiently independent of the enjoined definitional provision and thus might be able to remain in effect. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, joined by the liberals on the court, Justices Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson, and by conservative Justice Neil Gorsuch, wrote in her partial dissent by blocking the government from enforcing scores of regulations that respondents never challenge and that bear no apparent relationship to respondents' alleged injuries. The lower courts went beyond their authority to remedy the discrete harms alleged here. She predicted the injunctions this court leaves in place will burden the government more than necessary. She noted that the unchallenged provisions included reasonable modifications that would allow new mothers to breastfeed or express breast milk or pregnant students to attend to health needs of their pregnancies. Another provision would prevent schools from making pre-employment inquiries about an applicant's marital status. These provisions, Sotomayor said, do not reference gender identity discrimination or hostile environment harassment. Therefore, she wrote, blocking the government from enforcing any other part of the rule needlessly impairs the government from enforcing Title IX and deprives potential claimants of protections against forms of sex discrimination not at issue in respondent's suit. In seeking emergency relief from the Supreme Court, the Justice Department argued that the district court's injunctions are grossly overbroad because they blocked dozens of the rule's provisions that weren't challenged by the states and that the lower court therefore did not find were likely unlawful. Quote, the district court's injunction would block the department from implementing dozens of provisions of an important rule effectuating Title IX, a vital civil rights law protecting millions of students against sex discrimination, Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogger wrote in both requests. She said of the April 2024 rule is an omnibus measure, and most of it does not address gender identity. Instead, its provisions include clarifications to definitions of more than a dozen terms, including complaint, elementary school, and post-secondary institution. While acknowledging the challenges to federal regulations before they're enforced are common, she accused lower courts of taking a blunderbuss approach to preliminary relief in these cases. The harm is particularly acute here because Title IX is one of the core federal civil rights statutes that guarantees non-discrimination in the nation's education system, Prelogger wrote. If the court does not grant the requested stay, the department will be unable to vindicate the critical protections of that statute in a wide swath of the country. Oh, so yeah, and of course, Republican officials told the Supreme Court in a filing that the administration's rule would radically impact schools, teachers, and families. I'm done. It just devolves from there into Republican.
It does. Bullshit. It's the same bullshit. It's the same bullshit that we've been debating in the legislature for 4 sessions now, while our roads go to hell and our taxes go up and our services get even less.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's all the same arguments that this is just so difficult. It's going to bankrupt the schools, and it's going to bankrupt the states, and it's just going to bankrupt everyone, and we're all going morally bankrupt, and that's the bankruptcy argument. It's a lot of hand-wringing and complaining, and I can't even read it tonight.
It's bullshit is what it is. Like, we don't even have to read it. We know what it says. We've heard these arguments for all our life. You know, we heard it about gay marriage. We heard it about, equal protections of employment. We still can't get housing protection. This is just the same level of bullshit that keeps being bullshit. This is also the same level of stupid, non-serving the governmental people, the citizens of this country. It is past ridiculous. I am hoping, and I pray this every year, that we start making the right decisions for our people and the less decisions for an outdated book that no longer serves most of the people.
Significantly so. But it also comes on the heels of, like, so many of the states involved in these lawsuits are states that have been Republicanly led into swaths of laws concerning transgender students, especially blocking everything from puberty, blocking drugs, hormone therapy, surgeries. Oh, you name it.
Right.
And trying very, very hard to make sure that no trans person can pee anywhere. Ever.
And I do not understand, because we have the same situations we had in 62 and 52. What's next? They're going to start assigning water fountains to sexes? I mean, that's the level we're at here of stupidity.
Well, but we already... Well, and I think what really scares Republicans, what scares the hell out of them, what really just fucking keeps them up at night, is I don't think they quite got over co-ed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're horrified, I tell you,
right,
of the idea that, some blonde, white, sweet, virgin of Southern bellhood is going to find herself in a dorm room with a transgender who's going to rape her. And it's like, oh, for the love of God.
Right.
What?
One,
Like,
have they even
honestly,
been
this
in
is
a
where we're
dorm
at.
room in the past 25 years?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I'm sorry. I looked at those dorm rooms. I lived in one for two semesters. There was barely enough room for my stuff, much less someone else that needs more stuff.
Yeah. Well, and the realities are you're one like let's start at the beginning. And by the way, I said all that facetiously. Just I don't even want to hear complaints on that. It was said facetiously. I'm trying to articulate the argument because functionally the argument is that trans women, meaning women who were formerly men, are not actually trans and that they're doing it to get access to women, and that apparently and we're not clear because this is one of those screwy Republican arguments that doesn't always make sense, whether all men are rapists, because that's just all men do, is they rape women, or if there is this belief system that to claim that you are a trans woman as a man, because that's how the argument works, you're never a woman, you're still a man, that this shows how much of a rapist you are. Like, I've never been able to fully process this because this all goes back to, and it has repeatedly gone back to protecting the virtue of women in bathrooms, in dorm rooms, in locker rooms, in blah, 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 blah. Always goes back to women protecting their virtue. And I've never been clear on it if it's that all men are rapists. Just that's it. That's all men can be, is we're just brutal rapists. Or if there is this particular belief that in order to claim that you are a trans woman, you are particularly a rapist. Because that's the only way this argument makes any sense whatsoever. Like, otherwise, make it make sense to me, because I don't process it like an intelligent human being when the claims are made, and it's like, but that's not the thing.
But see, that's just it. That's where their claim fails. And here's where it fails monstrously: is what about the trans men? Sorry, many of them will kick your ass, you old Republican idiot, and not care about it. That's not your issue. If a woman goes and competes in male basketball and whips the other team's ass, they're ashamed. That's how stupid their mind is.
There's no recognition of how hard that woman had to work to beat men or to compete while taking gender affirming hormones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you understand? That's a stumbling block. That's not a performance enhancer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just so we're clear. So Brenda says most alternative people I've met are more concerned about consent and respect of treatment of other people than most men I've met. Or said more plainly, I understand why people choose the fucking bear.
Yeah. I'm cute and cuddly and we'll give you makeup tips.
That too. But no, in this whole man versus bear argument, I understand why women choose the bear. Because this is the Republican argument for denying trans people from using their gender identity restrooms. And it's like, choose the bear. Tell me one more time to choose the bear. Because
Well,
if this is
I
how
have a
you think,
solution with this.
okay,
Get rid of urinals.
do we really want to attack them at their semi-homoerotic activity of urinal posturing?
Yes.
Like, do we really want to?
Could you tell me the difference between a male bathroom and a female bathroom right now?
Pretty much urinals.
Yeah. Remove them. Put more sinks in. Dear God, put more sinks in. These men need to learn to wash their hands.
I don't know. I'm kind of all about some, like, can we just replace the sinks with like a sanitization, like airlock, where you go through and you get chemically doused? Because I think then that would take care of it. I don't think you're going to get most of them. Like, I firmly believe there is no point in putting more than 2 sinks in a men's restroom, regardless of its size, because most of the men will still not use them.
Right.
And yes, I know how that is. I get it. All right. So Brenda says the trans boxer that is people losing their minds isn't even trans. She has a condition that she's dealt with her whole life of having high testosterone, from what I've read.
Correct.
Yeah.
Biochemically. What I find interesting is they're losing their minds because she whipped ass and took names later. Now, honey, remember our last date? We went to Starbucks. We went to Kobe. We did some shopping. We went to the park. How many Republicans will lose their mind on that date? Especially if they're diabetics and taking a fluid pill.
Yeah, that would be a problem. Yeah. Gotta love Starbucks. I don't know how many Republicans would lose their mind when they realize that they already know what a non-binary bathroom is.
I think they would all lose it. Right. We have them in there. Sorry, he's frozen again. He'll catch up in a second. I don't know what's causing these freezes tonight.
Yeah.
Repeat it.
Oh, I was saying that, like, everyone has a non-binary bathroom in their house. It's called the bathroom in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really? You have a men's room and a women's restroom in your house?
Well, they do because they have multi-billion-dollar, bathrooms in their damn offices.
Oh, bullshit. That's talking about Republican leaders. I'm talking about the core Republican constituency, at least a significant portion of which, because we're there, of people in this world that are of voting age are living in one bathroom accommodations.
Right.
You are telling me you in that situation have a men's room and a women's room.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't. You have a non-discriminating bathroom.
Right. But to have this in our schools is a problem. When we already have them there, they just need to be treated as such.
Mm-hmm. Or more to the point, realize that people just want to poop. Yep. That's it. I don't know why you go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the case of one West Virginia senator, or state representative, I should say, I don't know why you go to a video gambling facility.
Oh, you let me forget that case.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
Yes, let's take a break and then we'll come back and talk about that one.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and give the warning. If you got little ones around, put your earbuds in. You already should have your earbuds in around us. You know that. So let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Are you ready for an enchanting journey of self-discovery and empowerment? Dive into the mystical world of Wicca with our courses guided by Lord Aeson Knight. Unveil Wicca's secrets, explore fundamental principles, and delve into essential topics like deity relationships and the purpose of rituals. Aeson Knight, a third-degree high priest, shares his wisdom through life coaching lessons, guiding you towards a brighter future. Step into the inner circle of enlightenment. Enroll today to embark on a journey toward a more empowered you. Click the link to take your first step into the magical circle.
Ready to join the Psychic Coffee Shop Network? By becoming our patron, you'll unlock exclusive content from Aeson Knight, host of the Psychic Coffee Shop podcast and co-host of the Mountain Bears podcast, alongside the tech-savvy Techie Joe. Choose from subscription options ranging from Tall $1, Grande $5, to Venti $10 per month, supporting us in covering production costs and beyond. Depending on your subscription level, enjoy discounts on private readings, free access to classes and special events, behind-the-scenes extras, and the chance to participate in station meetings. Plus, you'll get early access to new content and the opportunity to shape future topics. We'll acknowledge your support in the credits of our videos. Don't wait. Brew some magic and join us today as a valued member. Link in the show description. Aeson Knight, your gateway to a transformed life. In a world where anyone can claim to be a life coach, Aeson stands out as a true professional with the skills and qualifications to guide you on your journey to success. So why invest in a personal life coach? Let's explore the game-changing benefits Aeson brings to the table. Ever find it hard to stay committed to change on your own? Aeson's expertise ensures you stay on track.
All right, welcome back.
Yes. So I got you the article. I've gone with the New York Post because, guys, West Virginia made the New York Post. Oh, Republican State Senator Mike Maroney accused of exposing himself at gambling hall. He stripped down and was stripped of his duties. An outgoing West Virginia state senator was removed from his committee positions after he was accused of indecent exposure at a gambling parlor, officials said. Senator Mike Maroney, Republican Marshall County, was arrested Tuesday evening on misdemeanor charges of indecent exposure and disorderly conduct in connection to the alleged incident earlier this month, authorities said. On August 4th, police in Glendale received a call from two female employees at Gumby's Cigarettes and Beer World who reported a man, quote, committing an act of sexual gratification, end quote, in the hall's video lottery room. Marshall County prosecuting attorney Joe Canestraro said. Maroney, 56, was alone in the lottery room when the employee spotted him on surveillance footage, Castellano explained. The state senator was arraigned and released on a $3,000 personal recognizance bond Tuesday night, 7 News reported. West Virginia Senate President Craig Blair announced Wednesday that he was stripping Maroney of his role as Health and Human Resources Committee chair and all other committee positions to, quote, give him appropriate time to dedicate to his personal issues. Blair said he was deeply concerned for Maroney, whom he described as a friend. The facts that have emerged are troubling, and I am disappointed, Blair's statement read. While the charges are still under investigation, if true, this allegation is obviously not up to the standard of what we expect from our elected leaders in the state Senate of West Virginia, he added. Maroney is just a few months away from the end of his second 4-year term in the state Senate. The diagnostic radiologist was defeated in the May primary by Chris Rose, an electrician and former coal miner. Tuesday's arrest was also not his first brush with the law. Maroney was charged with solicitation in 2019 based on allegations that he texted with a sex worker to arrange prices and meeting times for an illicit rendezvous. He pleaded not guilty, and the case was continued 4 times before the charge was dismissed in March 2021. If Maroney is found guilty of disorderly conduct, he could face up to 24 hours in jail and a fine of up to $100. An indecent exposure conviction carries the threat up to a year behind bars and $500 in fines. Maroney did not respond to the Post request for comment Thursday.
Well, I find it interesting, that he's worried about non-binary people in schools, non-binary people getting medical care, but but continues to have a handling problem.
Well, I mean, jerking off in public and hiring a sex worker for whatever sex acts that might be. It's almost like the bigger threat to women is Republican men.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, do you ever wonder if this influences their thoughts on how horrible men are? Is because they know the horrible things they're doing?
Yeah, but he also thinks women doesn't have he co-founded the Prohibiting Abortion on Basis of Disability. Co-founded the Establishment of Medical Professional Liability Act, which basically, West Virginia lost a lot of medical professionals over.
I mean, and this is a diagnostic radiologist.
Yeah.
Like, can I point out, it's not that he's uneducated. Oh, yeah, another embarrassment for West Virginia. It is. There's no way around that.
Well, maybe, he got confused. He, was also the one going on the attack of the porn stores in the state. Maybe he got confused on whether he was in a back room, in a theater,
mm-hmm.
or whether he was at the gambling water thing. I mean, because they could be closely related.
They are. There is a striking similarity between some of the video arcades in
mm-hmm.
adult bookstores and video gambling halls.
Mm-hmm.
There is, in certain instances, a very strong overlap.
Right.
In the sense that they are usually dimly lit,
mm-hmm.
have video screens, and some offer partitions and separation from others around you. You may have gotten confused, especially if you were participating in the activity of drinking, which I assume was where some of the disorderly conduct started. Because only, in video gambling can you potentially also be served alcohol.
Right.
So, yeah. So maybe instead of going to the video gambling hall, and of all places, I want to get this one again. Gumby's Cigarette and Beer World. Gumby's Cigarette and Beer World. This is where you got arrested, dude. Gumby's Cigarette and Beer World. What the hell? What the hell? Like, come on, man.
It's like, dude, really?
Maybe just hang out in Charleston. There's a bookstore there.
Yeah.
But then you would probably have to deal with, like, trans people and stuff.
No.
But, yeah.
All right. I want to move into some good news.
Alrighty. What we got? Do we have good news?
We do.
Oh, okay.
From South Carolina.
It's rare good news comes out of South Carolina, but all right, take it away.
first openly poly couple licensed as foster parents.
Aww.
This was
Yay.
announced 2 hours ago that the SCDSS, thank you, kill me, has finally processed this large family's application to be foster parents. Our caseworker did our applicational paperwork, was pretty understanding about the matter. She asked in line with what she would have asked single parents looking to get licensed. Our boyfriend was understanding and did the full interview and background check, which also seems to be in line with that of single parents' relationship partners. This is big news, y'all.
Absolutely.
Like, we're apparently breaking the news story.
Oh, but still awesome.
Yes, but congratulations, automatically bad 6611, and your family.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah.
And I'm glad the process stayed on point.
Yeah. That's insane. But it's like, okay, we're growing. We're getting better. We're getting better. All right, now it's time to plead your case for being an asshole this week.
All right. Am I the asshole for telling my gay friend to be less gay? I'll be honest, I do sound like quite an asshole here, but let me explain. I, a 20 male, have a gay friend, 21 male. I'll call him Jason. Jason is like a really cool dude, no problem hanging out with him, and he sets boundaries. But for some reason recently, when we're scrolling on Twitter, he asked, I should have read this. We'll go with man boobs feel like? Genuinely jaw dropped. Knew he was gay, but dang, that made me do a double take. I asked him what he meant, and he turned to ask me again to repeat his question. I'll be honest, I had no idea how to reply, but it got me flustered anyways. I don't know why, though. I'll be honest, I've had a huge crush on Jason for years, and I haven't been very clear about it. It's almost like he's perfect for me, but I'm not gay. I don't think so, at least. I don't want to be in denial, but I can't hold on for much longer. I'm so close to just kissing him on the lips and calling it a day. So one day I walked up to him and straight up asked, do you like anyone? Sure, it was weird as shit, but if he likes someone, why be so gay around me, you know? I don't even know if I'm using that term correctly anymore. He often goes to movies with me, restaurants, and dates like we're an actual couple. I asked him to cool it, to distance myself, and I felt really bad seeing him frown. We haven't talked in just about 1 week and 2 days. What should I do about it now, though? I think I just need advice, but no one's telling me shit. I'll be honest, I was really harsh when I told him to be less gay. I yelled at him a little when he started getting angry, asking if I was homophobic and such, but I couldn't help it. I let my love dive under and my feelings escape. I was angry because I knew I was wrong. What do I do now? Am I the asshole?
You're an asshole.
The least of your issues.
Okay.
This is 15 days ago, guys. You're the asshole. Like, we'll just get that out of the way. Dude just figured out he's gay.
So this is what you're going to do. One, you're going to send him flowers. You're going to, on those flowers, you're going to make sure that you include an apology with a request to date him and get the hell over yourself.
All right. And I shouldn't judge people's sexual orientation. I really shouldn't. I think you met someone and without necessarily committing to a sexual orientation around it, you inadvertently found for what you thought was your heterosexual identity, and may very well be the one person that you'd go gay for. I don't think you ever had a moment where you clearly processed this, nor even know how.
Right.
And I think you took your internal turmoil in this situation out on your friend.
Right.
I think you need to figure out how to explain that.
Yeah.
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 But very good luck with that. Dude, you're the asshole.
Yeah. So close to being so deep into the assholeness that we'll just classify you as a bottom bitch and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So poll up.
Poll is up. Feel free to vote. We've already casted our votes, but your votes count more because y'all guys get to make the decision. Moving forward, let's go into relationship advice.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, that's cute. Give me a moment.
Thanks. La 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 la. He got so excited. He found the polyamorous couple licensed as foster parents in South Carolina. Forgot to send me a relationship, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. I understand the excitement.
All right, let's go ahead and pop this one. All right, this one may be boring, but we'll go for it anyhow.
All right.
Gizmo even decided to comment on that.
I know, right? He has many comments.
Yes.
There we go.
All right, let's go.
All right. So where to find the poly people who don't all have primaries on apps? Hi, fellow polyams. I've started committed to only dating ethical, non-monogamous people on the apps as it's much easier. Had a few monoga types who said they were okay with me having other partners and then weren't, etc., etc., etc. I have come across some lovely people. However, nearly everyone on Field seems to have ethical, non-monogamous, partnered, only looking for casual, or ethical, non-monogamous, partnered, not looking to escalate. I already have a really lovely partner who's married and committed to his life to someone else prior to dating me. I'd really like to meet someone who would be available to escalate. I say this because I want children and I want to co-live with someone. I find the idea of nesting to be really comforting and something I'd enjoy. The few people I have dated who don't have prior escalatory type commitments seem to only want intermittent romances. I guess what I'm asking is, where am I going wrong? Is there another app you'd recommend? I also don't want to settle. I want to fall in love like I have with my current partner, and I value connection a lot.
Ooh, this one's interesting, and here's why. You can be somebody's primary today and secondary tomorrow and thirdary the next day. You have to build your relationship strength.
Yeah, you start. I think what they're getting hung up on is the not looking to escalate, only looking for casual. Okay, we all look for a lot of things. Can we just agree on that? That when we're in the dating sphere, we look for a lot of things. Funny things happen on the way to finding that. And sometimes those who scream only looking for casual and not looking to escalate are doing so because everyone that hits them up wants more than casual and to escalate. Now, I don't mean that in a no means maybe kind of way. Right. I mean, sometimes you just have to date around without having an intent.
Right. Or a focus or a plan. Just go on a damn date and have fun.
And know that it's going to be, it will get you there one way or another.
Right.
As in, if it's meant to be, it will occur.
Mm-hmm.
If it is not, locking yourself down looking for someone who is not looking for casual and only looking to escalate is likely going to leave you with a limited pool.
Right.
And you're not potentially going to be happy.
Right.
And you will end up settling.
Right.
If, however, you take people at where they are and you go and enjoy what they have to offer,
Right.
you might find yourself pleasantly surprised
Right.
by finding someone who didn't think they were looking for anything more than casual, or may introduce you to someone who is looking for something less casual.
Right.
Like, try to understand the concept that when you go on to dating apps, and again, I'm really, really trying not to make the no means maybe, because that's about consent and taking people at their word, and that is important. But in the realm of dating, you tend to scare people off when you open by looking for a committed relationship, especially in E&M communities.
Right. Because that says that they want control.
Sometimes the people you find with that are, frankly, desperate.
Yes. So my other thought here is get off the apps. Get your ass out to a mode. Get your ass out to this charity, that charity. Get out there and mingle with us.
There is more than apps to life.
Yes.
Apps are convenient. Apps are very convenient for casual.
Right.
Apps are very convenient for not looking to escalate. Just looking to have fun. It's sort of that moment of, if you only rely on the apps, you're going to find a lot of what you don't want.
Right.
So definitely look at other solutions that are not app-based, that are people-based. And you should find what you're looking for.
Right. And you should find what you need and where you're at and what you're doing and how to make that happen. And where things are going to be at. What I mean by that is define what you're looking for. And don't care about long term. Don't care about short term. Don't care about if you're the primary or the secondary or the fifth dairy, or that they practice kitchen polyamory. Look for kitchen polyamory. Because looking at what you want, it fits kitchen. It doesn't fit parallel.
Well, and if you want a reference point, and this is from which I speak, there was a very young me at 19 who came out and thought with 6 months I will meet my Prince Charming, and within 6 months we will adopt, buy a house, and get a dog. Sometimes you got to slow down and realize that, no, really, there's benefits to dating. You will learn a lot about yourself while dating. That is very crucial information for the future that will significantly change what you want, when you want it, where you want it, how you want it, and maybe change entirely what you're looking for. Because it sounds nice. We get fed this idea of how great it is to be partnered with a kid and a dog and the white picket fence and the affordable mortgage that no longer exists. while having the great job and the wonderful car, and it's a 2-car driveway, and it's all going to be perfect and white, and it's going to be great. That's not who people are, and there's a lot of people who get so fixated on the stream, they don't realize that's not who they are, and hurt a lot of people along the way. Take your time. It's not a race.
No. Figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally, our first date said, not looking for permanent, not looking for long term. I can't date anyone. I said, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty clear.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's even an older me.
What were we looking for when we first started talking about going there?
All right. Well, the first date came after the first time we hooked up, so let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm not making any claims to be some great, like if I'm your role model, you have taken many, 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 many wrong turns in life. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have no delusion I'm anyone's role model, nor should I be. Okay.
And I have always told my clients, test the car before you buy the car.
Which is a nice way to say that the whole neighborhood has kicked his tires.
No, not the whole neighborhood. Most of our neighborhood's out of my dating range and straight. But anyhow.
But that was a good one.
What I was looking for is not what I have. What I was looking for was comfortable relationship on Tuesday or Thursday. Not what I got. I got a really good partner that, had some things we had to work past.
Oh, yeah. So Brenda asks, I mean casual or permanent, LOL. We know what you were. No, I like, honestly, sincerely, I wasn't even looking for casual. Okay.
Right.
Like, that would be an upgrade to what I was looking for. And sorry, that's how it started.
Yeah.
Was I really wasn't looking to know a name. In all honesty, I wasn't really looking to make that level of investment.
Right.
And that's because my life at the time, I didn't really, and I didn't really, and I didn't feel, they were in concordance, that I had anything to give another person then, for starters. Because I was taking care of my grandmother, and like, I did not have anything else left to give. Like, that was my 99th percentile of like capacity. Some days 150%, but that's,
Antifreezes. So what I was looking for was someone to fill a day. Like, if it was repetitive, great. If it wasn't, great. But I tend to be more dim-eyed in relationships. So you were at 99 percentile before you froze again.
Yeah, like I was maxed out. I had nothing to give anyone. So no, I mean, it worked out eventually. Like, things change. And they do for everyone. But in that exact moment, if he had popped up and been like, "You are the one for me, we shall marry," that would have been the first, last, and only.
Yep.
Like, shut it down. We're not even entertaining this. Like, I'm not dealing with this. I don't have the emotional capacity to deal with this. I don't have the energy to deal with this. So,
and I said, well, that's fine. That's all I said.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, that's fine. That's cool. That's interesting. Here's my
We'll do it
number.
like
Call me if you ever just want to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it worked out. And that's kind of what I'm saying is like we write our positions on things like casual or permanent, long-term, committed, whatever on our current life situation and where we can see ourselves in this moment.
Right.
It's not that you need to take the no as maybe. It's that understand things change.
Mm-hmm.
And we all kind of write that from the perspective of where we are right now.
Right.
No, it doesn't mean you need to wait around for someone forever. It doesn't mean that you need to be convinced that their situation will change.
Mm-hmm.
But you can still go out and have a productive dating life.
Right.
And have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe learn things about yourself along the way while living the life you're currently in.
Mm-hmm.
And if it goes somewhere else, that's great. If it doesn't, that's also great.
Right. But what I'm seeing more and more is like everyone has like this pre-populated plan in their dating scheme, and it's like, I promise you, this is not where I plan to be at back in 1999.
Oh, no.
Okay. This is nowhere in the zone of what I plan to be, where I plan to be at, and where I plan my relationships at that time to be at.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where I'm at today is not where I thought I'd be in 99. It was not where I thought I'd be in 2009. It's not where, like, literally, it changed as my life changed
Mm-hmm.
when it changed.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that was that, no, this works out.
Yeah.
This, we have matched fucked up luggage. Which is my joking way of saying that, like, this works out. Like my shit goes with his. And I think that's really hard for some people to grasp the concept. We are like you can go through life in one of two ways. One is you show up with a perfect plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you right now, people are gonna like, if you lock in and commit to that, I hope it works out for you. But generally speaking,
Yeah.
doesn't work out for most people. Like our demons play well together. But for most people,
Mm-hmm.
that plan that they have for their future, their 5-year, 10-year plan, if you get overly attached to that and lock yourself in on it,
Mm-hmm.
life's going to throw you a lot of curveballs.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are going to be incompatible. And you will go through a lot of struggle for no other reason than you are so locked into this
Mm-hmm.
that you're not being dynamic to what life is offering. And
Well,
you're
not
missing
only
a lot of opportunities.
Right. But not only that, but you're not getting everything. What I mean by that is your limited view of the white picket fence and one house, and 2 cars in the garage and 2 lesbian collies in the backyard playing ball, and a job
One
you
dog.
go to
One dog.
8 hours.
Yeah.
I'm telling them my plan.
Oh, you're a virgin. Okay, cool.
You'll notice my plan does not have a few things yours does.
Well, it has one big extra that mine didn't. Just saying.
What, 2 lesbian collies?
Not that.
Yeah. If you write this big Hallmark Ultra script up for what you see your life being, that's not even close to what your life turns in.
Well, and I mean, even if you don't, I think we all have this like pre-programmed idea that this is what you're supposed to want. This is what it's supposed to be. Mostly because we're raised up on the idea that this is how it works, and it's like it doesn't.
It doesn't.
I mean, there are people that this works out for, and it's great. It's beautiful when it does. I'm not trying to diminish that at all. I'm just saying there's a lot of people it doesn't work out that way, and they're very resistant to changing the idea that it's supposed to. And in doing so, they spend many, 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 many years hating what life is throwing at them. Left, right, and center, because it's not what they want. And
well, it's the other side of that. There's life goes, oh, well, that's cute. Here you go. Well, damn, he's too cheap to go beat him at the bar. Fuck. Okay, fine. Let's move him here and drop him here and jerk him back here. You know, and when we started talking on that first date, it's like, yeah, I know that place. Yeah, I know that collection agency. Yeah, I know that restaurant. I know that Sheets. I know that dude that's the Sheets that knew you, you know. And it's like, you're a stubborn pain in my ass.
Said everyone who has ever dated me.
Not really.
What?
Honey, I've seen some of your boyfriends. I know some of your exes. They had no question about pain in the ass. All right, guys, let's check out this poll. In poll. It has been awarded finally. You are the asshole.
Yes. Is it bad I want it to work out for them though? Like is it really bad? I want Jason, the fake name of like OP's friend, to like in this one moment and never again. All right, Jason, if you're watching, never again after this moment. One time, one get out of jail free card for this man. Be the doormat. Take that bullshit that you just got handed. Go on a date.
Well,
after that, he's on his own. OP is on his own after this. Like, he fucks up again, you kick his ass to the curb. But I want in this one moment, just overlook the hideousness of this situation and give him a shot. See how it goes.
And OP needs to stick on those romance boots.
Like, you have no more.
And start loading those and start calling the florist. The good florist, not the whore florist.
Yes.
And if you don't know what that is, go get Ethical Slut. It's in chapter 5. You have 2 different florists.
Yeah. Never use the same florist. That's the non-ethical, non-monogamous guide to life, is never use the same florist.
Or jeweler.
Don't take them to the same restaurant. Like, you have to discreetly, independently run 2 separate dating lives.
Yes.
Or 2 separate romantic lives. And I do mean discreetly.
Right.
Keep them separated. Like, think of the song from the 90s every time you do this.
Right.
Keep them separated.
Right.
Do not cross the stream.
Right.
There you go.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and flip it up.
So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Brenda, Joan Owen, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Caitlin Bell, Devin, and Maria Meyer. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. And guys, have a great weekend. We will see you Sunday to be planning next week. Until then, good night, y'all.
Good night.